All right, let's continue with our little review. We're still on 4344, even though it doesn't say it at the top, but that's what this is right here. All right, 4344. So, let me change this to red so I can see it. You said number 8. Okay, so let's do number 8. And what are we trying to do? It says determine the rational roots. What does that mean when it says determine the rational what? Roots. What are we basically doing here? We're basically just doing what? Nobody? Solving for x. Thank you. All right, so we're basically just solving for x. We got a couple ways we could say that. We say find the roots or determine the roots. What's another way that they could ask you to solve for the roots or solve for x? Find the what? The zeros. All that means the same thing. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. Everybody with me? All right, so what do we do here? You got to figure out what's a factor. Now, this is an x to the 4th. This isn't just you put a couple parentheses and you figure out what's going to go in there, all right? You got to figure out what is a factor. So what are we doing, 8? Yeah. So yeah, what's our factor? Well, we got a 2 here and a 1 right there. When there's a 1, you don't have to do that P over Q. Remember the P over Q? All right, this is the P, this is the Q. This is over 1. So you don't have to do that. All you got to do is find the factors of 2. Now, if you had, let's see, do we have one like that? No, we didn't. All these have a coefficient of 1, so that makes it kind of easy, or it makes it easier, I should say. So what are my factors of 2? Plus or minus what? 1. And what else divides into 2? Plus or minus 2. So I got 4 choices that I could put in for this. Let's see which one has a remainder of 0. So how do we do that? We could do it one of 2 ways. We talked about this yesterday. You could just plug in the number and see if it comes out to a 0, or you could do the what do you call that thing? The division, synthetic division. All right, so you could do synthetic division. Jimmy, you're going to pay attention, or do you want to leave? All right, because you're really distracting me. Thank you. So what do you want to do? Do you want to just plug it in, or do you want to do the synthetic division? I would probably just plug it in. All right, I'll just tell you right now. All right, I think that would be easier. So what are we going to do? We're going to put in, I don't know, you can start with a negative 1 or you can start with a positive 1. I usually just start with a 1, all right, and let's see if it works. And I usually start with the 1 every single time, all right. There's no like trick to look at it. Which one should I start with? Which one's going to work? I just start with the first one and just keep trying until one of them works. That's all I do. So put in a 1 for this. So 1 to the 4th, that's a 1 minus 5 times x to the 3rd is a 1, so it's just 1 minus 5. Okay, plus x squared, 1 squared is a 1, so that's plus 9 minus times 7. Negative 7 times 1 is negative 7, plus 2. Let's see what that equals. That's negative 4 plus 5 is what? 5 minus 7 is 2. Oh, no, I did that wrong. Hold on. That's negative 4. Did I do that right? Yeah. Well, this is a 2. That's negative 4. That's a 2. That's negative 2 plus 2. I don't know what I did earlier, but that is a 0. That does come out to 0. Okay? That's a good thing, right? Because that means that that's a factor. But what is actually the factor of it? It's not just a 1. It's a what? It's an x minus 1 is one of my factors. All right, so that's really important. That's going to be one of my factors. All right, so what I have to do is find out how many times does x minus 1 go into or divide into this thing right here. Now, that's when I do the synthetic division. All right, remember, this is x minus 1, but when we do the synthetic division, we're going to put in a 1 because this is x minus k. All right, whatever the k is, you put it right here. So it's x minus 1, so 1 is the k, you put it right there. What do you put out here? Synthetic division. Put all your coefficients. Now let's take a look at it first. Do we have to fill in with any zeros? No, because it goes x to the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, constant. We're good. We don't have to fill it in with any zeros. We did that yesterday. You can look at that from yesterday. So what are my coefficients? That's a 1. That's a negative 5. That's a 9, negative 7, and 2. Double check my arithmetic, okay? Because when I start talking and writing fast, I make mistakes, so keep track of me. All right, bring this down, which is a 1. Multiply, which is 1. You put it here, and what do you do with these? Add them up. That's a negative 4. Multiply, negative 4, add them up, 5. Multiply, 5, add them up, negative 2, multiply, negative 2, it's a 0. All right, so that's good. So now what does that mean? What did that do for us? That means, remember, that's our remainder. This is our constant, our x squared, our x cubed. So this means, this thing right here means what? X cubed minus 4x squared plus 5x minus 2. Our remainder is 0, so I don't have to put any remainder. So that's what we have so far. So those are two factors. But I can factor this a little further, can't I? All right, so let me just check to make sure that I did it. Yep. Now you can check again. We already tried a 1, so we know a 1 is a factor, so I'm not going to try a 1 again with this. Okay, I could try a negative 1, and then if that doesn't work, I could go to a 2. All right, just for the sake of time, I'll tell you which one works. All right, so the negative 1 doesn't work, but a 2 does work. All right, so let's slide that in right here. Let's just see if it works. Okay, 2 to the 4th, what's that? 16, right? 2 cubed is 8, and then another 2 is 16. So that's 16 minus, put a 2 in for that. What's that? 2 cubed is 8 times negative 5, which is negative 40. Put a 2 in for that. That's 4, that's 36. 2 in for that's minus 14 plus 2. Let's see what that equals. Let's see, let's do this one first, that's easier. Negative 40 plus 36 is negative 4. 16 minus 14 is 2. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So yes, it does work. All right. I kind of cheat a little bit because I've already done it. All right, but that's how you do it. So f of 2 works, which means x minus 1 is a factor. And what else is a factor? X minus 2 is also a factor. Now, let's find out how many times does x minus 2 divide evenly into this. So we do it one more time. All right, so we do a synthetic division one more time. Put a 2 right here. And now what are my coefficients? This is what I'm looking at now. All right, because I already factored out an x minus 1. Now I'm factoring out an x minus 2 from this is basically what I'm doing. All right, and we're going to find out what's left over. So I put my coefficients. I got a 1, I got a negative 4, I got a 5, and I got a negative 2. Let's do the synthetic division. Bring this down to here. 2 times 1, add them up, negative 2. Multiply, negative 4, add them up, 1. Multiply, 2, that's a 0. This should always come out to a 0. All right? If it doesn't, you did something wrong somewhere, so make sure you double check it. So what are my, what's this going to be? That's my remainder, my x, my, I'm sorry, that's my constant, that's my x squared. So I've got x squared minus 2x plus 1. We got to factor one more time. I mean, it is an x to the 4th, for goodness sakes, right? So we're going to get 4 answers. That's 1, that's 2, and when I factor that, I'll get 2 out of that. So there's going to be my 4 answers. Does it make sense? Now, do I have to do the try a number here and then do the synthetic? No, this one actually is a nice, easy binomial factoring, all right? Or trinomial, I should say. Trinomial factoring, we're going to get 2 binomials out of it. So what's that going to be? Can you do that in your head? It's got to multiply to be a positive 1. And it's got to add up to be a negative 2. What's your only choice with 1? It's either both positive 1 or both negative 1. It can't both be positive 1 because it has to add up to be a negative. So my only choice is negative 1 and negative 1. You with me? All right, so I factor that. Let's put these down. Look, I got a whole bunch of negative 1s, don't I? Or x minus 1s. It's okay. So technically we have 4 answers, but we do have some repeats, right? So when we finish this up, you're only going to see 2 answers. You're like, I thought we were supposed to have 4 answers. But I do have 4 factors, don't I? But we do have repeats in here. All right, so you could write down all 4 answers, but you don't have to write them all down. So what are you going to do? Remember, all this is equal to 0, isn't it? See all that? I didn't write it down, but all that was equal to 0. You should be able to do this next part in your head. Once you get to this, all right, I graded somebody's quiz either yesterday or today. that did not finish this up. It doesn't say to factor. It says find the roots, which means solve for x, okay? So what do? We take this, we set it equal to 0. So x minus 1 equals 0, so what's x equal? If x minus 1 equals 0, what's x equal? 1, okay? And that'll be for that one, that'll be for that one, that'll be for that one. But do we have to write 1 3 times like that? Do we? No, we don't have to. Or you could. All right, wouldn't be any reason to, but you could. All right, what else do we have? X minus 2 equals 0. So we set x minus 2, right? X minus 2 equal to 0. Solve for x. What's x equal to? 2. And that's it. Technically, there's 4 answers. There's 3 1s, and there's 1 2. All right? But you don't have to repeat all those 1s. You can keep it just like that. Does that help a little bit? Okay, these other ones were the same, 9 and 10. Which one do you want to do? 9 or 10? Give you a choice. Somebody tell me. Huh? The heart? Oh, the harder one. Just give me one. Give me 9 or 10. 10. Okay, thank you. That's all I was asking for. So let's do this one. What does the question say? It says determine the rational what? Zeros. Now look, you don't have this equal to 0. Over on this one, it was already equal to 0, wasn't it? All right? But on this one, you have to find the zeros. So what am I going to do with that function? I'm not going to make it f of x. What am I going to make it? A 0. Okay, so I set them equal to 0. It says find the zeros, so I set it equal to 0. Make sense? All right, let's keep going. It's basically the same. Again, I'm going to, just for the sake of time, I am going to just tell you what the factors are. They're actually 1 and -1, so it works out pretty good. It's not like you have to try a whole bunch of them, all right? So you try 1, it works. I don't have to show you that, do I? I already did it on the last one. Put in a 1, it will equal 0. So I know that x minus 1 is a factor. And what do I do with that x minus 1? I do that synthetic division, don't I? Let's do it over here. So I got a 1, and then let's put the coefficients. So that's, let's just double check though. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yep, we're good. I don't have to fill in anything. What about here? Do I have to fill anything here? Nope. 3, 2, 1 constant. I'm good there. I don't have to fill in any zeros. So I got a 1, I got a 2, I got a -9, a -2, and a +8. Let's do this. Are you kind of liking synthetic division now? I'm just about a day away, I think, maybe even tomorrow, teaching synthetic division to my Algebra 2 class. So maybe you could help them out. I don't know. So you bring that down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, one more, multiply, and add. You can do that pretty quick now, right? Can everybody do that? Should be able to at this point. We do that so much. All right, this was x to the 4th, so what's this 1 going to be? That's going to be x what? Cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x minus 8, right? Again, we set that equal to 0, so all that's going to equal 0. Well, we got that big old x cubed thing, so I guess we're going to have to do it again, aren't we? And -1 works for that. I'm just giving you a shortcut. You're going to have to try it on your own, all right? But I'm just telling you for the sake of time that -1 does work. Don't try 1 again on this because we already got the 1 right here, all right? So try the next one, which is a -1. And it does work. So that means I got x minus 1, and I have what? If -1 works, this would be what? X plus 1, all right? Everybody with me? Now I got to figure out what's left over when I divide this by x plus 1. Well, you do that by synthetic division again. So this time you put a -1 there. Put the coefficients, 1, 3, -6, -8. Do the whole thing again. That's -1, that's 2, -2, -8, +8, 0. We're good to go. It's supposed to be a 0. And what's this going to be? This is going to be x squared plus 2x minus 8. Everybody good? All right. And let's factor this. This is a trinomial factoring, so you should be able to do this. X and x. Okay, these two numbers have to multiply to be -8, and they have to add up to be positive 2. So what's going to work? 4 and 2. Yeah, which one's positive, which one's negative? Right, the 2's got to be negative, and the 4's got to be positive. Whoops, it's a big old 4. All right, because it multiplies to be negative 8. When I add them together, that's a positive 2. So the bigger number has got to be positive. And I'm practically, for all practical purposes, I'm done, aren't I? So those are my factors. Do I have any repeats this time? Nope, no repeats. So I'm going to get 4 answers. Do I have to set these equal to 0, like as far as like writing it down? No, I think you can do this in your head. So what's this? X equals what? 1, then negative 1, then negative 4, then positive 2. You could keep it like that. I don't care what order you put it in. If you look in the book, they usually put it in the lowest number to the highest number. So if you look in the book, they'll probably write it like this: negative 4, negative 1, 1, and 2. All right, so those are my zeros. So X equals all of those. That means, what does that mean? That means if I put in any of these numbers, I could put a negative 4 in for all of these. That's going to come out to be a 0. Put in a negative 1, that's a 0. A 1, 0. 2, 0. Got it? So that's what you're doing. That's what they're asking you to do. It's pretty much the same. Like all four of these are pretty much all the same. This is like a step less because it's only x cubed. All right? This is a step less because that's x cubed. But yeah, they're pretty much all the same. So really, on this one, you probably only have to do synthetic division one time, and then you do your regular trinomial factoring the next time. All right, same thing with that. Okay? All right, let's move on.
Margarita to the office for dismissal.
What about this one right here? I don't know if there's only 5 of them. I still don't know if we'll have time to do all 5 of them, but it took you guys a whole period to do it, and I only got 18 minutes to do it. So which one of these do you want to do? Take a pick. We can probably get a couple of these done, maybe 3 of them. So give me one that bothered you more than any other one. 4? Okay, let's do 4. All right, let's do 4. Well, just do one at a time. How about that? Let's see what I want to do first. Okay, let's do this. Now, I got to get rid of square roots, okay? Whoever's clicking the bottle, please stop. All right, so I've got to get rid of the square root. So what do you think we're going to do eventually to get rid of square roots? Square it, okay? Do I want to square that whole left side? Nah, that'd be ugly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put it... Is that a 1? Why is that? Was that a 1 on your quiz? Oh, you know why? Oh, sorry. I changed the problem. I had a problem on there, and are those the right numbers? Yeah, that's correct. I had another problem on there, and I changed it because that other problem got way too hard. Okay, it had real crazy, ugly numbers on this, but this comes out nice and pretty. All right, isn't that nice of me? So I could have made it a lot harder, but I did the answer key. And I thought, oh my gosh, they are not going to want to do this. All right, so I changed it up to this one. And I was looking at the old answer key. All right, enough of that. Let's move this over to here. All right, so what do I get? I get the square root of 6x plus 12 equals, what's that going to give you? The square root of 4x plus 9, what? This is still over there, so I got to put the plus 1 right there. It's still going to be a little bit weird because we're going to have to do a little FOIL, but that FOIL would be way easier than doing this FOIL right there. I could do that, but I think what I'm doing right now is going to be a little easier. So now what do we do? Square both sides, correct? And you got to take that whole thing and square it. You can't just square that square root. You can't just square that 1. You got to take that whole entire thing and square it. We good? When we square this, what do we get? 6x plus 12. And what do we get here? I don't know. Can you do it in your head or not? Let's not. Nope. Let's watch. So when we square something, we multiply it by itself, correct? I don't think it is. I don't know. Actually, when I did this, I never did write the work on this answer key, so I only have the answer. So I'm just flying solo here. So what do we got? This is going to be, whoops. This is the square root of 4x plus 9. Keep that over that. Plus 1. And then another what? Square root of 4x plus 9 plus 1. Okay? I think we got room to write it right here. So what do we get? This times this. We're doing FOIL now, right? First, that just gets rid of the square root. So what do I have now? 4x plus 9, no square root, correct? And then I got a plus 1 square root of 4x plus 9, then another square root of 4x plus 9. So what does that give me? Plus how many of them? Plus 1 is plus 2 square root of 4x plus 9. All right, that's my outside and inside. Just did it in my head, okay? I went outside, I went inside. That gives me 2 of them. Do you see it? Right? That's the outside, so I got 1 of them. That's the inside, I got another 1 of them. So how many do I have? I got 2 of them. Plus what? 1. The last is 1. All right, so let's bring all this up here somewhere. Let's see. Well, I'll just write all this down. 6x plus 12 equals 4x plus 9. Let's do this. I got a 9 and a 1, so what should I write? Write 10 plus 2 square root of 4x plus 9. All right? So what do? It's really kind of basic right now, okay? That was the hardest part, okay, is multiplying that, doing that FOIL method to get this. All right, now what I can do is I can try to get x's on the same side. And then I want to eventually get rid of that square root again. All right, so what should I do? Let's get rid of that 4x. Let's put it over here. What does that give us? Minus 4x, that gives us 2x. Yeah? And then let's get rid of this 10. How do I get rid of that 10? Minus 10, that gives me plus 2. Right? Let's do this. Let's get rid of this 2 before I get rid of the square root. How can I get rid of the 2? Divide it by 2. So divide this by 2, divide that by 2. All right, so I kind of did all of that in one step instead of writing that every single step down every time. What does this give me? X plus 1 equals square root of 4x plus 9. Yes? All right. Now what do? You should see it now, right? Square both sides to get rid of that square root. And we got to take that and we got to square that. We should be able to do this part in our head. What's that going to be? X squared plus 1x is 2x plus 1. Again, if you don't know how to do that in your head, you need to learn how to do that in your head. Okay? If not, what do? You write down your 2 sets of parentheses, do your FOIL, and you should end up with this. But at this point in your math career, you should just be able to look at that and tell what that answer is. Equals, what happens here? 4x plus 9. We're getting there. Ready? Let's put everything on the left-hand side. So get rid of the 4x. Subtract a 4x. So that's going to be x squared. If I subtract a 4x, that gives me minus 2x. So I got rid of that. Get rid of the 9. Subtract the 9. 1 minus 9 is negative 8. And that equals 0. All right, this is something we've done a couple times already today. Shouldn't be a problem. Equals 0. X and x. Now this time it's a positive 8, right? Or sorry, it was a positive 8 is what I was thinking. This time it's a negative 8. All right, so what are we going to do here? 4 and 2, right? Does that work? Yep. It multiplies to be negative 8, and it adds up to be negative 2. Now, we're almost ready to solve for x. X equals 4, and x equals negative 2. Do we circle it? Are we content? Are we positive that that's our answer? Do we go on to the next one? No, because what did we do? We did it twice. We squared both sides. I squared both sides here, and I squared both sides here. That's an indication that you should do what? You should check it, okay? Let's check them both. Let's check the 4. All right, put it in, I don't know, you can put it in any of those. Put it into the original one, okay? See if we can do this in our head. Well, not all of it. 6 times 4 is what? 24 plus 12 is 36. Square root is 6. Put a 4 into this. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 9 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. Does that equal 1? Yep. So can I circle 4? Absolutely. Let's see if negative 2 works. Remember, this is a negative 2. Put a negative 2 in for this. Whoever's making that noise needs to stop, okay? You're not being funny, just being a jerk, all right? And nobody is laughing. So x equals negative 2. Let's put a negative 2. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12 plus 12 is 0. Square root of 0 is 0. Put in a negative 2 in for this. So it's 0 minus. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 9 is 1. What's that? That's a 1, isn't it? Does that equal 1? No, it doesn't. Okay, so can we include this as our answer? No, we can't. So my only answer is x equals 4. And that's how you do it. It's kind of tedious. There's a lot of steps there, but really, none of the steps are really that difficult. Okay, the only thing is just a little FOIL method. All right, I mean, it's not just a little FOIL method. That is a little bit kind of a weird FOIL method you're not used to, but it basically is just FOIL method, right? And everybody should be good with that. Is he snoring? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. Look what I got today. Just for this. Wake up. All right. What else? We got 10 minutes. Look at that. I did that pretty quick, right? Which one of these do you want to do? Are you good with the partial fraction thing? No? What's the best one for me to do right now? This one? 5? The inequality one? All right, let's do that one. It was the easiest one?
You can't do 2? You can't do 2? We go different struggles, Sam.
What does it decompose?
You just
Buddy just woke up. Buddy had to go sit. Literally all you do is square, subtract 5.
But you got to do.
Oh, we got you, Sam.
Let me see.
I mean, obviously, you guys
Nobody got him. Nobody's trying to get anybody. Okay, it's just.
Buddy doesn't even have a notebook yet.
So let's take a look. All right, so let's square both sides. So what do you get? You get 3x plus 5 is less than 18, right? Just do some math. Subtract 5 from both sides. So it's 81, of course. I was just checking to see if anybody was paying attention. See? That's why I tell you to check my math, okay? Sometimes I go too fast. All right, subtract 5. What's that? 76. And then divide by 3. So it's 76 over 3. Is that my answer? Do I just keep that there? No, because there's a restriction. What's the restriction? That 3x plus 5 has to be what? Not just greater than or equal to. If you look at some of your quizzes, some of you guys didn't put the or equal to when you were supposed to. I should have marked it wrong, but I did not. So I gave you grace. You should all be thanking me for that. Well, not everybody, because not everybody made that mistake, but those who made the mistake should. All right, so anyway, that's greater than or equal to 0. Subtract 5, divide by 3. So x is greater than or equal to negative 5 over 3. Now, I need to make a number line. Now, I don't really like those fractions, do you? So what I did is I turned that into a decimal, and that's about 25.3. And this is what? 1 2/3, which is 1.67, so it's negative about 1.67, 1.7, doesn't matter. I just need to know approximately on the graph where it is. So this one's going to be right here. That's negative 1.67, and this one is about 25.3. You didn't really have to turn it into decimals, just makes it a little bit easier if you do. So now what we have to do is we got to figure out, and we're going to use, let's do this. Let's rewrite this. We could keep this 9 over here, but watch. I'm going to do this on purpose. 3x plus 5. I'm going to move that 9 to the left-hand side. Is that all right? Because that just makes it a little easier. So when I put these numbers in, I can just look at them to see if they're positive or negative. Does that make sense? I don't have to compare it to the 9. All right, so I don't even have to find what it's equal to. I can just see, is it positive or is it negative? So a lot of times the 0 is in between, but is the, oh, it is on this one, yeah, because that's negative. So 0 is in between here, isn't it? So that's what I would pick. I would pick a 0. So 3 times 0 is 0 plus 5. Square root of 5, do I even have to know what the square root of 5 is, like exactly? Nah, because I know square root of 5 is a little more than 4, so it's about 2 point something. 2 point something minus 9 is always going to give me what kind of a number? A negative number. So anything in here is going to be what? It's going to be negative. And that's what I want, isn't it? Do you see that? I want to find what values for x is going to make that negative. Do the same thing here. Pick a number. 26. Okay? I don't know what number I picked. I didn't even write it down. Just did it in my head. Look, you can just see. 26 times 3 is what? A lot. And the square root is even a lot. It's going to be way more than 9. Okay? So what's that going to give me? Positive. You could try a negative. Try a negative 2. All right? And this is going to give you a positive right there. I think it does. Yes. All right? So what numbers are we picking? All the numbers between here and here. And this one right there is got to be what? Or equal to. So we color that one in. This one is just less than. So that's open. And so here's what we shade. Now, it didn't ask you to graph it. But what we can do now is you can write our inequality. So x has to be somewhere between, remember this is shaded, right? It's or equal to, right there. And this is not shaded, so that's just less than. And then you put the numbers here. I'm just going to put the original fraction just to make it look a little prettier. 76 over 3. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. That's the big number. I got to put the negative number in there. That's negative 5 over 3. And this will be the 76 over 3. So x could be any number between and including this negative 5/3, right? So you could include the negative 5/3. That'll make it work. But it's got to be greater than that, and it's got to be less than this. And this is the answer to that question. Just like this. I said greater than. I mean, because it's got to be x has to be greater than negative 5/3. Negative 5/3 has to be less than x, right? So I could say it either way. Does that make sense? Why I said greater? So x has to be greater than or equal to this number, and x has to be less than this number right here, which means it's going to be any number that falls in between here. And it could also include that number right there. It could include negative 5/3, and that's perfectly fine. Make sense? All right. There you go. We did a lot today, didn't we? Covered a lot of ground. Actually, we only did like, what, 3 or 4 problems? But still, I think they were good key problems to do, don't you? Yeah. All right. If you need help, go back and watch the videos. I probably have examples with the other ones. So what are you studying? What's the main thing that you're going to study? The quizzes, absolutely. Okay, so make sure you go through all the quizzes. Study the quizzes. Hopefully you didn't throw them away. I tell classes all the time, don't throw away the quizzes. Don't throw away the test. You should always have those out because I get problems from those. All right. Now this test, I may have, listen, I may have some of the same exact numbers, but I'm going to have some different ones as well. They're going to be the same style. The style of problems will be the same. I just might pick ones with different numbers. All right. But there may be a couple in there, 2 or 3 maybe, I don't know, that are the exact same numbers. All right? All right, so that's all the review. Tomorrow we're going to start the next section. It's actually the next chapter, right? So we're going to talk about that. And that's a chapter on trig. All right, tomorrow's not really trig. It's just getting us ready to do the trig. But then after that, we will do the trig. All right?